Yeah, remove it. No, that had nothing to do with me. Bless.
Are we live, huh?
I see that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. Tonight we have yet another very special guest. I keep saying that every episode because every guest that we've had is very special, but this one really hit home for us at Hybrid. We are joined by a trainer, martial artist, actor, public speaker, and of course, our founder, Franz Gillezeau. Good night, good sir.
My friend, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited about this interview.
I'm glad to hear that. Me too.
Man. Franz, you have, as I've said, you've been an inspiration to me as a trainer, as a business owner and stuff. So, and now, of course, a magazine founder. So I'm hoping that I am on some level doing your baby project justice.
Man, you all have been doing fantastic work with this. I know you and Andy have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and I am very proud of where the magazine has gotten to under your steerage. So, yeah, you're doing good, bro.
Awesome. So, as I mentioned, the first title I gave you is trainer. So, how did you get into fitness, and subsequently, how did that translate into you becoming a personal trainer?
I got into fitness by way of weightlifting in the garage with my father when I was 14 or so. You start to pay attention to the muscle men in movies and videos and things, and you're like, well, I want to be that guy. And my father had a really old set of classic Weeder weights, and so me and a couple partners asked him to train us. So we fell in with him and a friend of his, and that's how I got into that. And of course, but I am the type of person, if I get into something, I like to read as much about it as possible. I'm a serious bibliophile. And so I started devouring fitness magazines. And after about, I don't know, 10, how many years of flipping through Muscle and Fitness, I noticed an ad for ISSA, which I'd probably seen, a million times over the years. And because I was the one who used to read all the magazines and watch the documentaries and get into the real science of lifting, I was the one all my friends used to come to for lifting advice anyway. And so I saw that ad and thought, well, why don't I just get paid for what I do already, which is train and tell people how to train? So at the time I was working in my father's company, and I went to him, put together this real fancy portfolio as to why I want to do this and how I'm going to do it and how I'm going to pay for it and how I can make a living doing it. And he was like, cool, go for it. He'll help me pay for the course. So I did my first course, and I've been training people ever since. And that was, I think, 13 years ago. The month after I got certified, I had my first client. And I've never, lockdowns notwithstanding, never not had clients since I got certified.
Nice. Well, that's quite a history, and I'm wondering something. I also started with just kind of doing it, and then eventually I was like, just like you, why not get paid for what I'm already doing? So I'm kind of
Yeah,
wondering how many trainers got into it that way.
probably all of them. Probably, if
Probably,
not all of
probably.
them, 80 to 90% of them were like, this is what I do already. Let me see if I can make money. And I mean, that's the selling point of it too, Ed. Make money from your passion kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, it worked on me. So
Well,
there
what
you go.
what is it they say? If you do something you love, you never work another day
You
in your
never
life,
work
or
a day in your
something like
life.
that.
That's true.
So you mentioned, ISSA. What exactly was your path to qualification like? And what qualification was the name of the qualification?
So the first one I did was the Certified Fitness Trainer program.
Right.
And then I followed that up a couple of years later with the Specialist in Strength and Conditioning program. And
Hmm.
those are the two current fitness certifications that I have.
Right.
And yeah, I did it with International Sports Sciences Association. They're really just the most heavily advertised that I came across. But
Right.
in researching them, they're also one of the most respected worldwide, and their support was impressive to me.
Right.
Their student support and their continuing education and the little courses that they offer, I quite loved my experience with them.
Cool. Cool. I have seen a couple other people doing the ISSA stuff, and I mean, of course, there are a couple others, but I looked it up myself, and yeah, I agree. My certification lies elsewhere, but it's definitely something I want to add to my portfolio. Because they are as good. Are um, what I'd like to do is show a quick a quick picture here, something that's based on the banner we had at the start, really quick.
Hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that would be us doing Hardcore Caribbean together.
Yes, indeed. That was the
Yeah,
last one that they had, right?
that was in fact the last one that they had.
Yeah,
You
that was an
know, hype.
excellent course, man.
That was fun, man. But that was, I think, the first time I truly enjoyed hardcore from start to finish. And it was no fault of the organizers. I mean, I think it was because I chose not to be in a leadership position.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
And I was just able to do the course and not think about it. And it was definitely a great experience. That'll be the first time I worked with hybrid because I used to do it before my
Hmm.
own, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say with you at the helm, it was, again, as I said, a great experience. But other than hardcore, what other like adventure races and stuff have you, or advent events like adventure races have you done, and races in general?
I've done the Trinidad and Tobago International Half Marathon
Mm-hmm.
twice, myself, and then I did the full marathon as a relay component with yourself, Barry, Anthony. Who else was there, boy? Your brother
For sure, yeah.
and
Well, in case
oh
you need
no,
a reminder,
and
in case you
Nigel.
need a reminder,
Right. Yes, there's a team. Big team. Not a lot of hair except on your head, but big team.
ex- I carry enough here for everybody, so nobody else
You
needed
carry
it,
the team's hair. Yes, well done to you. So I've done that event three times. I quite like that marathon. I've done the UE half marathon once. I've attempted fusion twice, completed it once. That is a hell of an event. Anderson was on my team
Mm-hmm.
um, the second year we tried it, and yeah, man, that event, that is something else. I love fusion. Anybody interested in adventure races, I think they're still doing it. That is a fantastic adventure race. That is hard as hell. And other than that, done little 5Ks and 10Ks and things like
Mm-hmm.
that.
I will say that fusion is the one that I've always wanted to do, but have never actually gotten around to doing, and that's my own fault, of course.
Now you need to try that, man, because it's a real team building experience,
Hmm.
and it's taxing. That is one of the most accomplished feelings I've ever felt in crossing that finish line with the various races that I've done, and the gradings that I've done in Taekwondo and whatnot. I was literally speechless when I crossed that fusion finish line because of the hell we went through to get there. And I mean, there's people who do fusion fairly easily. I mean, real monsters out there. The athletes that I got to race against, they're phenomenal. But fusion, do it. If you can put together a team and they still have the full fusion, because I know they do fusion light or something that they call
Fusion
it.
light, yes,
If you
fusion
can
light.
do the full proper fusion, it's like nothing else. And you get to see the country, a lot of it. I went to places I would have never gone if it wasn't for fusion.
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely put together a team one of these years, but it's a matter of getting the time together and all that stuff. But it is on my bucket list. You know how we
Yeah, and
all
it's
have
a
a
lot of
bucket list.
and it's a lot of training. Don't look for me to join that team though, because been there, done it. I'm not going through that again, Fred. That was a lot.
No,
I tick that box and I'm done. But you should definitely give it a try.
no problem, no problem. I would like to show a quick little video here of you doing something that I consider to be extremely interesting. All
Mm-hmm.
right, let's get this video up. That is Franz as a Taekwondo instructor going through, I believe, what you called it, convent projects.
Yes, so that was
Right.
St. Joseph Convent, San Fernando, what they call projects, which is it takes place over 2 months, and these young ladies have one session a week of any new physical skill that they want to learn, and
Mhm.
it's a wonderful initiative. So I knew someone on the administrative staff at SJC, and they contacted me to find out if I would do it. I believe my instructor had done it years previous, but he
Right.
wasn't available, so they reached out to me, and I jumped at it because it's something new for me. I live for new experiences,
Of course.
and I loved so these girls, they're given a list of uh, pretty sure it's the whole school, forms 1 through 6. They're given a list of hey, big up Shay. They're given a list of these new skills that they have as options, and
Hmm.
it's everything from special effects makeup to normal makeup to, man, I think there was pottery, there was archery.
Wow.
I believe there was that year there was kickboxing as well as taekwondo, and so these girls chose taekwondo, and so it was 8 sessions, 7 sessions because we missed 1 week for something. 7 sessions of me teaching them what I could in order to be able to for them to demonstrate it there as you saw on the stage.
Right.
And that kiop at the end, that sound that they made when they finished the punches really made me smile. Those girls put in a lot of work over those 7 weeks. It felt really good to see them do that on the stage, because we were up there for a few minutes and they did everything perfectly. It was very
Wow.
rewarding.
I will give a round of applause to you as well as to the young ladies that you taught.
To
Yeah,
them, it was they put in a lot
yeah,
of work, man. They were really passionate about it, and that experience is what made me realize that teaching is something that I really wanted to get into eventually when I had
nice, nice,
the experience.
nice. But yeah, of course, you don't just wake up one day and become a Taekwondo instructor. What is your journey through
Well, no.
Taekwondo been like?
It's been all positive, really and
Nice.
truly. I got into Taekwondo pretty late in life compared to most people.
Mm-hmm.
Hybrid. Um, and so I got into Taekwondo, I think at 33, with very little prior martial arts experience.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 17, I was repeating CXC at the time. So 17, yeah. Me and some friends joined, I guess like a karate school. And I say, I guess like a karate school because it really wasn't, very well organized. I'm not going to say the name of the instructor, um, for different reasons than that, though. Who knows. And that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I've always had a fascination for martial arts. I mean, like most trainees, I grew up watching the kick up movies on a Saturday afternoon on TTT in the 80s. So since then, I've always wanted to learn, but we never had the money to send me to any kind of classes.
Right.
And thanks, uncle. And so I started Taekwondo through hybrid, actually.
Oh,
One
really?
of one of our writers, Nadia, did an article, a kids corner. I forget exactly what we called it, but a kids article on activity. The point of the article was activities available for children, fitness activities.
Parental guidance.
That's what it is, parental guidance. Right. Thank you.
You're
And
most welcome to.
so parental guidance was actually Nadia's idea, and that was her article every issue. And one issue, she did an article on Wolverine Taekwondo. And in proofreading the article, I realized that Wolverine Taekwondo is around the corner from my house. And so I called the number. I used the asset of the magazine. I called the number, spoke to the guy. Turns out I knew his younger brother. They bookended me in school. He was a few years ahead of me. The brother was a couple of years below me. So we chatted and I went to a class. It was just he and I, now Sabum Paul Waite, just he and I. And this was just before Carnival. I'll never forget because after that session, my hips felt terrible. And I went to pan semis and couldn't whine because my hips were exhausted from all I mean, he put me through the ringer because I was talking a big game because I fit now. I could, man, I could do these ranks quick. Nah, he put me through the ringer that first day and I'll never forget it. It had to be February, whatever year I was 33. That would be what, 2004? No, that's madness. 2014. And so that's how I got into it. And then he sort of built an adult class around me because he
Right.
had his teens class. So he took his more advanced teens and brought them, and we had a session there. So there am I, 33 years old, white belt, and I'm training next to, 16-year-old blue belts and 17-year-old red belts. And it was a lot of fun. And
Right.
then, so because of my physical capabilities, I did pass through the rank fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed embodying the idea that you're not too old for this. And I got my first degree black belt under Sabum Rampe from Jamaica, who's been living down here for a while. So he graded me.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second degree black belt was under Master Hutton from Scotland, who was down here for a while. And myself, my instructor Paul, and another guy named Samuel, who I just graded with again on Sunday. Samuel and I were graded to second dan, and Paul was graded to fourth dan under Master Hutton, and that was an experience.
Well, let's
Master
take
Hutton does
let's take
not play
a look at
around.
let's take a
Uh-huh.
little look at you getting your second dan. Question: did that hurt?
It did. My the ball of my foot was sore for a week and a half after that. Yeah, I didn't retract fast enough. I just went straight through the board.
Yeah,
But yeah, that so breaking actually comes last in our gradings. So by that point, you're completely exhausted, and then you have to do, a foot break and a hand break,
mhm,
and maybe a flying break if the instructor, the examiner calls for it. And that was my first time breaking two boards with a turning kick. So that's why you saw
right.
me take so many careful measurements. That was me psyching myself up to put the foot through it. But yeah, that grading was one of the most difficult physical things I've ever done. It was, man, I was just like after fusion, I was basically speechless and all but in tears after that grading. It was a hell of an experience.
So you said you just graded again, so that'll make you third dan.
Yes, I am, as of Sunday gone, third degree black belt in ITF Taekwondo.
So what does that feel? What is it like? Every new milestone. Do you feel the same feeling like, cool, I've done something great again, or is it something new, a new kind of feeling?
It's a similar feeling of achievement, but each step up is, especially, I mean, to me as a black belt, each new degree of black belt is more and more responsibility, to yourself, to your school, to your instructor, to your examiner, to your brothers and sisters in the art, to your students, your potential students,
Hmm.
your fellow students. And so there is that feeling of achievement, and also a feeling of extreme responsibility to me. What also I experience, I don't know if everybody else experiences, is a little bit of, wow, I don't think I deserve this yet. And the general census I've gotten before is, if you feel like you've earned your black belt the day you get your black belt, you're not ready for a black belt. You're
Yeah.
supposed to feel like you're not ready for this yet. And so that's also how I feel like, wait, I'm third dan already. I don't feel like I should be. But you are. Your instructors believe in you. Your examiner believed in you. So you are. And that's it.
I think that anybody with a passion for what they do would always suffer a little bit of imposter syndrome, probably because, we always want to see the best. So we're always going to be second guessing ourselves, on certain levels and whatnot. So I think that what you're experiencing is pretty normal. And I would agree. If you feel like you're ready for it
Imposter
as soon as you
syndrome
get it,
is imposter syndrome is definitely a good phrase for it.
yeah.
But then you have to tell yourself you earned it because your instructor and your examiner believed you
Yeah.
did. It has nothing to do with how you feel. They believed in you. And in fact, more so for the third dan testing, I wasn't going to grade because I didn't think I was ready. I
Hmm.
didn't think I could get ready in time. And because the examiner, Sabun Rampe, hit me some quality chain up one of the days that I went there to observe a practice, but of course I went with my uniform just in case I wanted to fall in.
Right.
He gave me some quality chain up and a good little pep talk, and a couple of the other guys did as well, and who were grading. Another Dave Samdio also graded to second degree that day. And so they all encouraged me, and Ryan properly trained me up, and I did it. Paul took his time graciously to do some one-on-one sessions and got me ready. And then yeah, push myself through it. So I know I earned that.
Nice, nice. Let's take a little look at you getting that third dan.
Mm-hmm.
That was Paul there holding the the boards, right?
Yeah.
A little bit again, you would have hit him in his chest.
I did hit him in his chest. Not hard, but he told me. So the small backstory to that particular break, that was the last break that I had to do, and in the build up, I had failed on I think 5 or 6 other attempts, and different kinds. Not that particular one, but different kinds. So there were speed breaks, there were jumping breaks, twin kick breaks, all sorts of things. And it took me a couple attempts to get one or two of them. One of them I blatantly failed on. Another one was a speed break that I also, thank you, Karen, that I also failed on. And so because I didn't get that one, they said, well, you had to break something, so pick up our break. And 3-4 of the fails that I'd done were with my hand. And so my hand is aching, and I am really, really frustrated. So
Right.
you don't see the all the practice steps that I took, but it took me a long time to settle myself down because I was really angry with myself for having failed the other breaks.
Of course.
And so in Psychem, I stood there in stance for a little while. Cheers, Andy. I stood there in stance for a little while, and Paul saw me gathering myself, and he said, "Aim for my chest," because of course that's how you have to go through the board, the stone, whatever it is. So and that was one of the other issues with a couple of the other guys. They didn't go through. So he's like, hit me in my chest. And I was like, all right. So I took my time, and I ended up hitting him in his chest, which we laughed about afterwards, but I didn't leave a mark or anything. So it's all good.
Nice, nice. So I want to say congrats, of course, going out to you.
Thank you, my friend.
I will say that you definitely deserve it. The Franz that I know definitely deserves it, and I see you going much, much further.
That's the goal, man, for whatever.
So let's go into a little bit deeper into your martial arts career. You have started MMA.
Yes. I mean, at this point, it's really more that I've started grappling.
Right.
But yes, 2 years ago, because it was unfortunately just before all this lockdown madness that we've been going through down here, that the world has been going through. I joined the Southern Warriors of Mixed Martial Arts. Sensei Grant will want me to say we are not ordinary people. And so, yeah, because I had known their lead instructor, Kerry Grant, Sensei Grant, for several years. And I'd wanted to start training with him a long time ago. I've always supported his club. And I've been to fights to support his fighters. Sensei Sion in particular, I've seen fights several times. But, and Kerry will laugh when I say this, I haven't told him this. Kerry is a certain type of personality that not a lot of people, not everyone will respond to as an instructor. He's very loud. He's very aggressive. He's very passionate, and he knows this about himself. So when I wanted to get into martial arts, I didn't think I was ready to train under Kerry. I thought it would be a little intimidating. And I may have been right. I may not have taken to it quite as well as I did now. So I ended up starting with Wolverine Taekwondo, and that journey we just talked about. So, but eventually I did want to start a branch out.
Right.
And I wanted to learn. I've been fascinated with Jiu Jitsu for a long time. And so joined a class. I tried
Right.
it out. I absolutely loved it. I got bodied all night long by men who are 20, 30 pounds lighter than me. And I am not a big man. There's some smaller guys, but they bodied me up and down that mat for 2 hours. And I went back every week that I could because it was absolutely fascinating
Of
to have
course.
a guy 20 pounds lighter than you just flinging you around effortlessly and then choking you out anytime he felt like it. It was wonderful to take off the black belt and put on a metaphorical white belt and just start from scratch again. It was great. And then the first time Sensei Grant ran a class, I was right. It was very loud. And if I wasn't at the point where I was, it would have been very intimidating to newcomers. But at the same time, it's the Southern Warriors. They are monsters. And if you're not ready for that level of instruction, you're not ready to train there, quite frankly. And but they're great fellas, and I have a wonderful time. Jiu-Jitsu is a beautiful art.
Nice, nice.
Stabum wait on the chat there. Yes, sir.
Good night, good sir. I've only met you briefly a couple of times, but your student here is an excellent all-round person. You have a great student there, Sabum Wait. Did I say that correctly?
Sabum wait, yeah.
Right,
Sabum
right,
is
right,
is is basically sensei in Korean. It means instructor.
right, 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 right. So there is an image I want to show into our next segment, right?
Hmm.
Let's take a look at this picture. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I kind of laughed when you said actor because that you use that word very loosely with me. But that is an Angostura ad series that I was part of, and I was an
Right.
incompetent bartender, and that is me pouring Robert Degan's shout out
Right.
mess a very bad drink, and I think that's the one that I put a massive piece of onion on or in for him to cry, and I'm a terrible bartender. So that was that was the most fun acting gig that I've been a part of because we got to drink the entire time and just lime and yeah, that was a lot of fun.
What other acting gigs have you done? You had that series. Um, weren't you part of a music video and that kind of stuff too?
Yes, so I was part of a music video for I don't know how they would want to be called, but a pretty hardcore metal band from Trinidad
Hmm.
called Lynchpin.
Right.
They had this idea for a sort of dystopian future pit fighter kind of world that they wanted to have this video in, and all a friend of mine, Jared, who is their I don't remember what instrument Jared plays. Sorry, Jared. All he had to say was pit fighter, and I was like, "Yep, I'm in it. Do things. You're gonna do things." And that was a lot of fun. It was long. It was very dusty, but it was crazy fun. We got to meet some guys who are in the professional wrestling world that we have down here,
Hmm.
and throw each other around a little bit. Jared plays guitar. Thank you, Andy. I was gonna say bass there, but I was like, I don't think he does. He also plays drums for somebody else, I think. So we had a lot of fun choreographing and running through those fight scenes. I ended
Hmm.
up getting killed by a very large man named Bob, and but before that, I think I killed two other people,
Right.
smashed one's head, and I choked another one with a chain. It was man, it was great fun. And then I
Sounds
was
like it.
No, I was dread. I slammed this dude so hard on concrete, and he's like, "Yeah, slam, I could take it." It was amazing how these fellas can properly break fall. These wrestlers, they're
Right.
real good at what they do. And I was in a courts ad as well. I was an enemy security guard for
Mm-hmm.
their protagonist. Their kind of Tom Cruise style Mission Impossible protagonist, and I feel like there was something else. But so that's basically my whole acting portfolio.
Well, it's better than mine, so I'll say it's impressive.
It's a lot of fun though. I quite enjoyed those experiences.
Nice, nice. But the thing is, not only does can you step into those shoes, but you're also a bit of a public speaker. You know, you do
A bit of
seminars
one,
and
yeah.
whatnot. Yeah. Let's talk to us a little bit about how you got into that and what exactly it is that you do.
How did I get into it? I'm genuinely not sure. When I was in primary school, I used to read in church.
Mm-hmm.
So that sort of got me over the whole fear of speaking in front of people thing, because there's really nothing like doing a reading at a Catholic holiday mass when the whole of the cathedral is rammed out and you're
Right.
11. There's nothing like it. So once you can do that, you can speak in public, and the place is, you can hear a pin drop and everybody's leaning forward. So that's where I started public speaking. But how I got into it recently, I think I have to credit Dr. Safia Mohammed with getting me to come on board for a talk that she was giving at Arthur Lockjack School of Business.
Right.
And so I did a fitness talk there. Sensei Grant was actually also there to discuss self-defense, and I helped him out with a demo. And then I've done a couple health-related fairs as well.
Right.
I was invited by the San Fernando Boys RC Past People's Association to talk at their Achievement Day. That was a lot of fun. Getting to talk to the kids about, taking their school seriously and follow your dreams, but have a backup plan. And, that was really rewarding. I got to unexpectedly thank one of the more pivotal people in my life, my Standard 5 teacher, who I did not expect to be there, but featured very heavily in my speech. So I quite enjoyed getting to do that. And yeah, then I've done TV interviews and radio interviews, and it's pretty easy once I get it's not easy. And okay, I do remember now that I'm thinking about it, I remember how I got into it.
Okay.
I was part of a live show that they used to do on Synergy, a lunchtime program, and in the build up to Carnival, we did Fitness Friday with Franz thing. And I remembered it because I was about to say I got over my nervousness with being on camera and being in front of people, because I sweat very badly, and I remember having to be offset, dabbing my head. And then so aside from reading in church, once you get over live TV, you can talk anywhere because it was live
Right.
TV, and that was a really fun experience. Shout out to Chris and Jarrell and that team.
Nice, nice. What we're going to do right now, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then
We
we're
have
going to come
commercials
back.
in this thing?
Yeah, well, we have one.
Nice.
Our own.
Well, good. Of course, yeah.
All right, and then we're going to come back. Let's take a look at this quick little video here.
My name is Chazelle Fleming.
Hi, my name is Alan Ferreira.
Hi, my name is Jamie Lee Phillips.
My name is Daniela Maria Taruba.
My name is Mark Chauhaja Singh.
Hi, my name is Charlene Prokop.
My name is Corinne Singh.
My name is Sayana Andrews.
My name is Tiana Guy.
Hi, my name is Nikki.
Hi, my name is Kevin Lucas.
My name is April Suraj.
I'm a chef by profession.
Some would call me a gym rat.
I'm a fitness instructor.
I am a powerlifter.
I am a mom, a wife.
I'm a fitness enthusiast.
I also do capoeira.
I'm an elite international boxer for Trinidad and Tobago.
Doing acting, modeling, MMA, martial arts, stunt choreography.
I ride horses.
I am a Spanish teacher and also a rugby player.
I'm an Olympic weightlifter for Trinidad and Tobago.
I'm also a bikini fitness athlete for Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, let's start from the beginning and find out how we got to this. So you are our founder. You are the founder of Hybrid Caribbean magazine. How did this idea of having this fitness magazine come into your head, and what made you go after it with such passion?
Well, I would say that I am one of the founders of Hybrid. So we were talking about how I devoured fitness magazines all through my teenage years into my 20s. And I'd always thought that we could do it one locally because fitness advice is fitness advice, but nutritional advice, lifestyle advice, a lot of it doesn't translate from the North American, European market to the West Indies, especially the nutritional advice. And so I was thinking that for a long time. And then, as Anderson mentioned on his podcast, on his episode of this, I came across some fitness advice in a local magazine, an entertainment magazine. I'm not going to call the name like Anderson didn't call it. It was popular, and the advice was terrible. I mean, borderline dangerously terrible. And I actually wrote them about it and told them that they are promoting dangerous misinformation. And I applauded their effort to add some fitness information to their entertainment magazine, and said, but they're doing it wrong, and offered to help. So if you all want, I can happily write one. And they never responded to me. No, of course, knowing. Anyway, let me not talk about who's involved.
Let's just say, knowing the magazine and knowing who was at the head of the magazine, I'm not surprised.
Right. So I wrote them. I didn't hear back from them. And then I really got this idea that somebody needs to do a local fitness magazine to combat the garbage that was in that magazine.
Right.
And I'd had that idea in my head for a while. And then somebody needs to eventually turn into, well, I should, or I could.
Right.
And then happenstance, my friend Nadia, who I mentioned earlier, she called me and asked me to come over by her so we could discuss an idea that she was having. And she pitched me a local fitness magazine. It's like, hey, you know what we should do? Or you know what you should do? A local fitness magazine. And da-da-da-da-da-da. And she was into running, and so she would contribute a running column and, a kids fitness column and that kind of thing. And we could definitely do this. And I told her I'd had a similar idea, so I'm absolutely on board. Let's see who else we can get on board to do this. And so like I said with the magazine, with getting into fitness, I went out and bought a book about running a magazine. And one of the first things that came up was graphics and design. And I was like, well, I don't know how to do that, but I know someone who does. And so I reached out to Anderson. We only peripherally knew each other. I mean, old boys from Prez kind of all generally know who the other is. And so I reached out to him. I said, "Don't you do graphic design?" I'm pretty sure I got the title wrong when I asked him, and he corrected me. And he said, yes, he does graphic design. He's designed for magazines before. He would love to be a part of it. Let's have a meeting. So we sat on my porch, and he brought his portfolio, a bunch of magazines through of work that he'd already done, to convince me I am not busting files, Maria. It was a very small entertainment magazine. You can glean from that what you will. And so I got him on board because he was also involved in fitness. He was as you all discussed, capoeirista and a dancer, and then I reached out to my friend Gabrielle and asked her if she would be interested because she is a nutritionist, and she said absolutely. She also teaches Pilates, so she said absolutely yes, she'd be part of it, and so the four of us launched Hybrid Magazine, and we got I think 4 issues out before our little house of cards started falling apart. And yeah, so that's how Hybrid was founded. It was an idea that I had, but Nadia encouraged it by having a similar idea and telling me I should do it. And then I reached out to Andy, I reached out to Gabby. By our powers combined, Hybrid Magazine.
So fast forward, I think either 2 or 3 years, and then we get to the video we just looked at, which is for this here magazine.
Yeah, that was actually filmed quite a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been a project long in the making.
You know, we have, of course, I can't reveal everything because, you know, I got to get people to buy the magazine.
You want people to buy the magazine, man, though? You could tease them, though.
We got,
let them.
Yeah, you know, quick stuff. We have, and we have in it featured Tamar Williams.
Yes.
You know, so how did it go from let's do a fitness magazine to, and I'm going to be very ridiculous here, but let's photograph people naked?
Right. I don't remember. So I think it's the genesis was, I think, a discussion that we were having amongst ourselves. I really don't remember how it all came together. I heard Anderson credit me with the idea, so I'll just take that and run with it. But the genesis was conversations like, but you're a trainer, ain't you supposed to be bigger? Like, ain't you lift weights and then you should be bigger than this, and why powerlifters don't lift for muscle? Like, why they so fat? And why this one? So it was about the different types of bodies and frames in different sports and why they don't all look alike. And all fitness is supposed to fit in this little box. And so it started with that. You know what we should do? We should write an article, because I used to write, me and a couple other people have done it, the Plain Talk Bad Manners segment in the issues. And one of them was going to be that not all fit bodies are meant to look alike. They are functional. And every frame has a function based on their specific sport, pastime, art, whatever it is. And yeah, Andy, we might have been talking about Fiona. So it started as that. I was just going to rant about it because I was fed up hearing about it. And then I think I think ESPN has a similar, ESPN magazine has something similar. And
ESPN Bodies,
Yes, so I think they call theirs Bodies or something like that. And it was different athletes posing with the implements of their art, their sport. And perfectly nude. And I think it was National Geographic they took it even further, and they graphically removed skin and showed you how bodies are supposed to move. And that, there you go. Thanks, Andy. Bodies of Work and the ESPN Bodies. And so that is how the idea started to form. It's like, all right, we can, instead of just being a little rant in one column of one issue, we can start this whole body appreciation movement, hopefully. And the best way to do that is to shoot nude bodies, you know.
Right.
And we knew it might be a bit risky for the West Indian culture, Trinidadian culture in particular, but we started sending out feelers to interested athletes, and we got some overwhelmingly positive responses. People were chomping at the bit, like, absolutely, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
And then it became an issue of, well, we'll use this to discuss body shaming as well.
Right.
Because as you've discussed on your Facebook platform many times, fit shaming, which I find a ridiculous phrase, is a thing as well, and it is a form of body shaming if you allow it to affect you. And so the idea went from not every fit body is supposed to look alike to actively combating stigmas of body shaming and why certain sports need certain bodies, and just because you look a certain way doesn't mean you're not healthy and you're not fit. And so we really just wanted it to be an appreciation of the human form, and that morphed into actively combating body shaming.
Well, of course, you're the one who invited me to become part of the project, and I must say, once you explained to me what they were doing, hell, it was a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure a lot of other athletes, like we actually recently had to do some shoots at the end of last year, and Anderson was telling me, he approached a couple athletes and they were excited, as you said, excited about the prospect of being part of this. So we're 4 issues in. We haven't published the body issue as yet, but we've done most of the shoots, we've done the interviews and all of that stuff. And you felt that you needed to pull back from it.
Yeah.
Can you tell us? And I know this is where the interview gets rough.
It'll take a turn from here. I think. So yeah, four issues in, there was one on the burner as well, which was not the body issue. Excuse me. And so during one of the economic downturns that preceded the wild economic downturn that is COVID, we lost a lot of our advertisers. Every man jack pulled out. We were about to go to press, and people were like, "Nah, can't do it anymore. So you're not gonna get the money that we promised you." And it was really dispiriting. But we kept everything there. We pushed forward. Anderson is a relentlessly optimistic individual. So we kept writing and we kept trying to produce stuff. He was adamant that, print is all but dead, so we need to go online. I'm really glad you all got this platform up and running. But then I was a new father. We'd moved house. I was starting a new job. So my time also just wasn't there to commit to the magazine, especially if it wasn't paying any money anymore. I mean, it never paid me money, but it at least paid itself. And if it wasn't even doing that anymore, then I found it harder and harder to commit to meetings and deadlines and that kind of thing. And then it actually started to take an emotional and mental toll. One, not being able to commit to it because this was a passion project of mine and I just didn't have the mental space for it anymore, which bothered me. And it bothered me that it bothered me. And of course, there's the vicious loop.
Right.
And so I had too many plates in the air. Too many plates were spinning and something had to fall. And hybrid ended up being the one that had to fall. So I had a very frank conversation with Anderson. By then, Gabby and Nadia were no longer part of the magazine. So I had a very frank conversation with Anderson. I told him mentally and emotionally, I can't do this right now. And I need to take a step back. Vaya con Dios. Good luck to you. If you need anything and I can do it, absolutely reach out to me. But right now, don't look for me because I'm not able. It's no longer a preface, but to lead away and backwards from that, I have I've lived with depression for a really long time. As long as I can remember, really, probably since my teen years. And it was hybrid itself. The thought of it, the despondency brought on by it was putting me into depression, and I couldn't do that anymore. So I took a step back to preserve my mental health, really.
Well, as we're talking about mental health, as I said, this is where it gets dark.
Yeah.
one of the ways that you have chosen to contribute to the magazine, you know, without be it holding on to that leadership role, you started to do social media, I wouldn't even say rant, but a social media expression series where you would literally go on your social media and pour it out. Tell us about your journey during mental health and that kind of stuff. And you told me, listen, if you want to use that in the magazine, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know?
So the way that started is, I think so in 2020, that started on a totally different tangent. I started writing what unexpectedly became a fairly regular segment, let's call it, that I started calling Big Man Thing. Because of there were two very high profile domestic murder suicides in Trinidad in very early 2020. One of them was absolutely, I mean, they're all appalling, but one of them was quite shocking. And I was just fed up of women losing their lives to domestic violence situations. So I started writing. It started off as venting, and then I realized that I'm not gonna change anybody's minds. I mean, most people capable of a murder suicide, you're not gonna change their mind anyway. But if you get to them before they get to that point, maybe you will, and you're not gonna change anybody's minds by buffing them up. So I changed tack a little bit, and I started discussing how you can be a better man, basically, for yourself, for your kids, for your loved ones, your significant other, whoever it may be. And that picked up some pretty good traction. I got a lot of shares and a lot of responses and a lot of kudos and pats on the backs, and so it was doing really well. I mean, I was on the verge of publishing a book with at the encouragement of another friend of mine with those writings. And then COVID happened. And we all got sent into lockdown. And one of the Big Man Thing posts that I wrote about was struggling with being a man and now being unemployed, maybe having to deal with the fact that you are no longer a breadwinner at all, no longer the breadwinner. If you were lucky enough to live with a woman who was still earning money, a lot of men would have had a problem with that. False pride, I should be the breadwinner. And it would really hurt your ego to know that you are no longer the breadwinner. You have to rely on your wife or your girlfriend, and they're the ones keeping the roof over your head now. So I wrote something about that and how you need to, one, check yourself, two, find productive ways to contribute to the house. It's your turn to wash wares and to do laundry and that kind of thing. Keep yourself productive, give yourself new goals, and that will help preserve your emotional and mental health. And then I started suffering emotional and mental health problems. And I started, so in July, I had...
Good night, Barry.
Barry, my friend, welcome. So in July, I had, let's call it an emotional breakdown. And in my recovery from that, I changed what I was writing about from being a better man to really taking care of yourself and your mental health, man, woman, child, whoever wanted to listen to it. And I was doing it partly out of catharsis for myself. Sometimes I would write things that I needed to hear in the moment. But I would express it because if I needed to hear it, then other people could probably do with hearing it as well. And one of the ways I try to live my life, one of the ways I try to teach, and one of the reasons I do these writings is sort of a sentiment of be who you needed at the time, whenever you were going through something. If you needed a firm hand on your shoulder, be that guy to somebody else. So that's how it started. Catharsis, and I didn't want people to be going through what I was going through.
Right.
And so, yeah, it got worse after that. After that breakdown, it initially got better, and then it got significantly worse. And I just really wanted to. I didn't want anybody to be going through what I went through. So I started writing about it, and it helped. And then it actually became a hindrance. It started. It didn't start. So something happened that I'm actually not going to talk about. I told you I'm not going to talk about it.
No problem.
And I wanted to talk about that. I've been calling it my moment of crisis. So we'll leave it at that for now. People can read into that as they will. And I wanted to talk about that specifically. I wanted to write about it. But I knew I wasn't ready to write about it.
Right.
But I felt compelled to, because of the reasons I was laying out. I didn't want people to go through what I've been going through. So I felt like I wanted to write about it for them. And then I realized that by trying to help people, I was going to hurt myself, and that's not helping anybody. And so I actually came off of Facebook entirely, because the outlet, the platform was there, and having the ability to write about it was making me really anxious. So I actually just deactivated my account so I couldn't write about it. At least that's what I told myself. And it's worked. I still haven't written about it. I'm not ready yet. But what I had written before, I saw a call for writers at some point. And I wrote to them, and I told them I've been writing. It was for an online magazine. And I told them I'd been writing these things, and I sent them some samples. And they said, yes, absolutely, we'd love to publish it and whatever. And then something happened. I think they called and I didn't answer, and then they never called me back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, that's an opportunity lost. And then I remembered, wait a minute, I had a magazine. Why am I outside here looking? Anderson is still trying to get this thing going, much to his credit. And so I just put in a group. I was very brusque with you guys because at the time I couldn't, I didn't have the capacity for long talk. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think I sent you all anything. I just said, find the post. You can publish it if you want. take the pictures of Instagram and Facebook as well, because I just wasn't in the place to actually send things. So that I saw that as another way of for me to contribute to the magazine without it adding to any strain that I had. It's already written. Publish it. It will hopefully find a larger audience and hopefully help people. Mm-hmm. So that's how. I mean, I haven't seen it published yet anyway, but that's how it started.
We have one of them published, man.
On the website?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, yes, I did see it. It was on the Instagram. Yes.
Don't worry, Franz. We got you.
One of the things I'll tell you, and this is not as an excuse of what just happened. One of the things that I've realized coming back from this this mental health journey that I'm on, your memory fails. After my moment of crisis, so I went on meds. I was on pharmaceuticals for a little while.
Right.
That was another lesson that I learned, is those things are very necessary in certain cases. In my case, it was I actually I was the one who brought it up with my psychologist. I went to therapy first, and then after a while, because of how anxious I'd become, I'd never had panic attacks before in my life, but I was an anxious mess at home. Loud noises and two people trying to talk to me at once, I would just start to shake and like rock back and forth, and it was madness. And so I couldn't live. Therapy is a very long-term tool. I knew I needed immediate help to get me through as well. So I was on meds for a while. I had my moment, and then coming back from that, my brain was not working. My short-term memory was
Right.
terrible. I developed social anxiety. And so little things like that, I would reach for weeks afterwards. I would reach for words that I would never have to reach for. Conversations became very difficult because I couldn't think of what I wanted to say. I was in a real brain fog. So that's something that I haven't written about that much yet, but that's something people need to be aware of. People in it and the people around the people in it. There's an element of brain fog that might be brought on by, chemical imbalance or the PTSD from if you've gone through the moment that I went through. There's the bad short-term memory, problem speaking. It got rough, dude.
Sorry to take you back through this. I think that
I'm fine, but I decided I'm not going to talk about what I told you I might, and that's because I'm fine and I'm good. So we're fine.
All right. I think that it's important to bring it up because a lot of people, when they think about fitness, they only think about the physical side. The brain, the emotions, all of these things need to be looked after also. And
for sure.
Right now, especially, somebody said it well, that the entire world is going through a traumatic experience right now. And a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that. So a lot of people's mental health has taken quite a hit. And
so if you had mental or emotional problems before, it was made significantly worse. The first day I was in my psychologist's office, he said the number of people seeking help has skyrocketed. Now that's also a good thing because it means people are aware that they need help and they were seeking help. So it is good that they were, but it's a sign that they needed. I mean, I remember posting a stat in September, the suicide rate in Trinidad, just in Trinidad. And by September 2021, for the year of 2021, it was 86 people. And that was, I think, 2 or 3 times higher than normal. And one of the stats was for every successful suicide, there are at least 20 people who are attempting. And so that's like close to 2,000 people by September who were in moments of crisis in Trinidad alone. And that is staggering. So part of the reason I started, all through September was Suicide Awareness Month. So all through September, I was posting as much information about where you can get help, who you can talk to. Please talk to somebody. The ways that that the people around the potentially suicidal person can interact with them. There's ways to interact and there's ways not to. You can very easily push somebody away, make them shell up even worse. So all through September, I was really pushing this thing, and then it got to be a bit much for me, so I kind of scaled back on it a bit. But the mental health realities for this lockdown, they're dark. They're hard to deal with for any number of reasons. Job loss, restriction of movement. Me in particular, aside from the uncertainty and I have no money coming in. Like I said, thankfully my wife, she was an essential worker, so she was never not working. So the lights stayed on, the roof stayed over our heads. But aside from that, all of my outlets, not all, most of my outlets were taken away. I couldn't go to a bar and lime and drink and talk with friends. I couldn't go to the dojo to train. I couldn't go to a gym to work out. I trained at home, which was fine, but I'm a social animal, and all the social animals out there watching this know it was hard. The isolation, I mean, in my case as well, all day long, the only other human I had to talk to was a 4-year-old, and that gets old real quick. So if all of your cathartic outlets are taken away, or most of them are, and then you are out of a job, there's endless uncertainty, there's all this hysteria and paranoia, which is another reason I came off of Facebook. I couldn't take the
yeah.
arguments and whatever over lockdowns and vaccines. I couldn't take it. So you add all those things up, and if you already had mental health problems like I did, yeah, it's you're gonna crash. And I crashed hard twice, 3 times. I had another moment where I did a post of where, because if all through COVID I had a bed that was down to like here,
Right.
where am I? Down to like there, and I made a post. Cheers, Barry. Blessings, bro. I made a post about why I shaved it off, and I had a moment where I looked in a mirror and I didn't recognize myself. And so I went home and shaved that night to see if I would recognize who was on. Maybe it was the bed, so I shaved the bed to see if I'd recognize who was under it. And I recognized the face, but my eyes still weren't there. So that the next day I went back on meds, because I'd been off of meds for a couple months by then.
Right.
I went back on meds, and a couple days later, my eyes were back. So that's how I know. I mean, not a lot of people, but there's a certain stigma behind being medicated for mental health or emotional issues. And meds work, and meds are necessary. It's what's the words I'm looking for? It's you see, here I am reaching. It's a brain chemical imbalance, and that's what the meds help. The meds don't make you happy. The meds make you not depressed. Depression is not meant to be a default setting. So if you don't need it, wonderful, cuckoo for you. I applaud you. Yeah, I don't ever want you to have to go through it. But meds work, and they work pretty well. Therapy is a long-term tool. Therapy works pretty well too if you have the right therapist. And I had an excellent therapist and a good psychiatrist as well. And so those things work, man. And I've never grown back the beard, because I went back and I looked back in pictures, and I still don't recognize myself with that beard. And I know it's because there was something missing in my eyes now that I look back at it. But I feel like I was kind of hiding behind that beard. And, it sounds really cliche and silly, but I kind of feel like that's what I was doing. So
right.
I don't need to hide behind a beard anymore.
Well, we we were talking about you being a social animal, and I just kind of want to, lift the mood slightly with a quick picture about, I call this social friends.
I like how you're inserting pictures with you in it as well. That has not gone under my radar. But yeah, man, that was a fun night.
Yep, it definitely was.
So that was yourself, my good self, and Stefan Tapolatu from the Netherlands, ITF Taekwondo legend, the Dragon himself, and Master Johan de Silva from England, the Warrior. And they were down here as part of their Dragon Warrior tour. My Taekwondo Federation hosted what we call a Taekwondo Festival, which was, the idea was that of Sabum Rampe. He had it in his head for a while, but it really coalesced when we met, myself, Ryan, and a few of us traveled to Suriname to train with Sabum Tapolatu. And I didn't coin the phrase, but I stole a phrase. So work hard, play hard. Yeah, Jellies, great memories. We had a ball with those fellas. They're such nice guys. And so work hard, play hard. I kind of stole that. And Stefan, I forget how it came up, but I said I think we were having beers after training, and I said train hard, lime hard, and that became the slogan for what would become our ITF Taekwondo Festival. And it was the first meant to be annual, but of course we managed to squeeze just under the line before COVID locked us all down. And we had it in 2020, and we intend to have it the next time we have a carnival. So we brought those guys down for a tournament, a seminar, and then the lime hard part is I took it upon myself to immerse them in Trinidad culture. It was hard work, man, taking these fellas to fets and that Panyard tour that you were good enough to take us on, and then playing mass with them for 2 days in the hot sun, dude. It was hard work. I put myself through, but it was excellent. And thank you for that tour, by the way. That was a lot of your doing.
Dude, it was no problem at all. It was no problem at all. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting two Taekwondo, should I say legends?
Yeah,
Legends,
man.
legend.
Yeah. I think Johan is one of the youngest masters. He's a master at 40. And so, that means he's been doing Taekwondo since the womb. Because I started Taekwondo at 33. If I grade on time every time, I will not make master until I'm 60. So he's been doing Taekwondo, I don't know how long. But yeah, so he's one of the youngest masters I think that they had. And Stefan is a legend of what could be called the golden age of ITF sparring.
Right.
Proper full contact. Look him up. Stefan Tapalatu highlights. He will appreciate it. And he's a phenomenal fighter, man. Two great guys. Great fighters, hard limers, and great guys.
Yeah. Taekwondo is not my martial art. However, I respect all martial arts. And you see, when you meet people like that who have reached that level of their respected martial art, it's always, as a martial arts enthusiast myself, it's always quite the honor. And I have to thank you for that, because of course you were the one who made the introduction possible.
Well, I actually thought that you would appreciate meeting these guys, and that's why I thought of you. I knew you were a pan man yourself and a martial artist, and that's also who I tried to introduce them to, is people who would appreciate who they are, but also help out with the immersion into the culture.
Of course,
and they did say that aside from Carnival itself, that Panto was their favorite moment. Stefan literally had goosebumps when one of those bands really queued up.
Renegades, I think he enjoyed Renegades.
He enjoyed all of them, man. All of them. I think it might have been phase 2, but he enjoyed all of them. It was good fun.
Well, you mentioned Suriname, so I want to take a quick look at this video here. Right. So tell us a little bit about that. First of all, you went to Suriname to train, which is, awesome in all of itself.
Yeah, that was fun all by itself. But just hearing Stefan's voice calling instructions makes me want to train, man. It was so
nice.
So we have, our federation has pretty good regional ties.
Right.
And one of the countries we're pretty tight with is Suriname. And they were having Sabum Tapalatu come down to have a seminar for them, being close with the Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
And so him being right there, and the ties that we have with Jarrell, big up Jarrell, Suriname ITF, he invited our federation to go across. And man, we scraped. I went across there at the charity of others, and it was a phenomenal experience. I mean, training with a different ITF group as well. And just as an aside, that's one of the major benefits that I've reaped from being a member of the TNT Taekwondo Federation, is just how linked we are with the region and our governing body. I've gotten to meet so many wonderful people through Taekwondo. And it's because the federation is organized the way it is, with regional federations and our umbrella federations. It allows for access to training and masters and world champions. I mean, Stefan is a multiple-time world champion in ITF Taekwondo, WT Taekwondo. He was in MMA. So, I mean, access to these guys is not usual for people in this corner of the world, honestly.
Of course.
And so I jumped at that opportunity, and I'm very grateful to Jarrell and Ryan for allowing me to make it across there. So we fly across, and it's 3 days of training with ITF world champion and legend Stefan the Dragon Tapalatu. So I mean, I am, fangirling all over the place. The man has posters of himself and signed, and so it's a lot of fun. And training with Stefan. So I had said before that I went to train with Wolverine because I wasn't sure I would be able to take the training with the Southern Warriors, with Sensei Grant. And I'm glad I did, because Paul's style of instruction was good for me at the time. And he built my confidence in the martial arts and whatnot. But I'm very used to him, because he's the only instructor I've had, really. I train with Sabum Rampin now and then, whose style I also quite enjoy. He doesn't yell, but he drills a lot, and he's an excellent teacher. But I wasn't used to somebody like Sabum Tapalatu, who yells a lot, and he doesn't necessarily, but he says this after the first, I think, hour or two of training with him. He doesn't actually give positive feedback necessarily. He won't say, well done. What he will do is move on to the next thing. And that means you did well, let's move on.
Right.
So at first, I kind of balked at his style of training. Very loud, which is fine. But I'm used to positive feedback. Okay, good job. Okay, maybe fix this. And he wasn't giving that. But then he explained his style. I don't say, okay, well done and good job, and there's no pattern on the back. No. You get it? Good. We're moving on. There's no time to waste with, stroking egos. And I really appreciated realizing that different instructors had very different styles.
Yeah.
And it was training with Stefan that made me realize, okay, I think I'm ready for the Southern Warriors, and I could take Kerry yelling at me constantly. But so it was 3 days in Suriname, training, Lyman, getting to know Stefan, the Surinamese brothers and sisters. They were excellent hosts. If you ever get a chance to go to Suriname, go. It's a beautiful country. And yeah, man, I cramped up. I collapsed. The training was real hard, but very well worth it.
Right. All right. I just kind of did that to lighten up the mood a little bit before we move into our next segment. We're going to go on to our final segment, the last rep.
Right, yes, I've seen this.
You've seen this. So I don't need to ask if you're ready for the questions or anything like that.
Well, I don't know what the questions are going to be. I assume they change each time, but I mean...
It's the same questions every time. We keep the same questions for now. So, I will say, that you've prepared your answers and everything.
I absolutely did not. I taken this off the cuff.
That's my mom, by the way. Hi, Mom.
Oh, hi, Chau's mom. You're very welcome, and I agree. We need more discussion, and that's why I've been doing it, and that's why I do. Part of the reason I do this is I hope to remove the stigma and increase the discussion. I was actually very happy, before we move on, Chau,
Yeah, no problem.
In the very early days of COVID, big up Huggins, ay. In the very early days of COVID and the restrictions and the lockdowns and the uncertainty, the Ministry of Health had a mental health segment in one of their many conferences, and I was really, really glad to see that because it's not done enough down here.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's something they could have or should have kept up. But I do know that they got a bit more vocal on what the resources are and that kind of thing, and so I'm hoping that the discussions are had more and more.
Right. I agree with you. Definitely something we need. Definitely something we need. Definitely something we need, you know.
Definitely.
All right, let's get to this final segment.
So last rep, I have not prepared any answers.
You have not prepared any answers. That will make this more entertaining.
Well, I hope so.
All right, question 1. What's your favorite junk food?
Does beer count as a junk food?
Oh, goodness.
No, that's a serious question. Does it count? Because if not, burgers. Cheeseburgers specifically.
Fair enough.
And then cheeseburger and beer, I mean, that's just... Yeah.
That's just heaven,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's my happy meal.
All right, next question. Squats or deadlifts?
Deadlifts. And I could explain why. I can't back squat anymore because of a lower back injury.
Right.
And I was told after physiotherapy and whatnot that I'd never be able to deadlift. And so because of that, I started deadlifting.
Right.
And so every time I do a deadlift, it's I wouldn't say I'm thumbing my nose at my physiotherapist because she did wonderful work, but at the idea of setting limitations on people, every time I do a deadlift is you don't set limitations on people.
Right.
So I love deadlifts as well. It's just a fantastic exercise too.
It is, though. It is. It's pretty much a full body exercise.
Yeah, and you can either do it or you can't. There's no spotting. There's no cheating. I mean, you can do it with poor form, but you can either pick that weight up or you can't. And that's also what I love about it.
Legs or chest?
Legs.
That is the correct answer, by the way.
Yeah, of course. You would appreciate that. But yeah, legs is the answer.
If you're in a bad mood, you're down and whatever, and you needed to pick me up, what's your one go-to exercise?
My go-to exercise. Wow, that depends. That's a really good question. Probably pull-ups. Pull-ups and push-ups, because I can just rep those out to failure.
Right.
But if I want to settle my mind without having to, I maybe don't have the space or anything to be able to put in a proper workout, running through my my Taekwondo patterns actually helps me settle down a lot if I need to center myself.
Nice. If there's one person you can either train with or be trained by, who would that fantasy workout partner or trainer be?
Good question. My technical director, Master Hutton from Scotland. Right. I absolutely love training with that man. He has the ability to light a fire under you just talking to you. Right. And I have massive respect for him and I love training with him. So alive or dead is whoever is Master Hutton is the first name that'll come to mind.
Nice. What's your favorite workout music?
That depends on the workout. I discovered you cannot do 100 burpees in 15 minutes listening to anything other than soca. It has to be soca. So cardio-wise, definitely soca.
Right.
Weightlifting, it depends on my mood. It could be hip hop. It could be really hard heavy metal. It could be 90s alternative. It really depends on my mood.
Right.
But for sure, anything cardio, soca. Good power soca.
Of course. And this one is Actually, no, I can't say I can predict the answer to this. I can guess, but I could be wrong. But cardio or weights?
Weights, but not like what do they call it now? Not like bro splits where you do one exercise at a time. I can't lift like that anymore.
Right.
Supersets, triple sets, circuits. That's the only way I train. I can't just do a bench press and rest. It'll be a bench press and a bent over row and some abs or some plyometrics or something. So, I mean, weights, yes, but with a cardio element. I can't just do
Right.
one exercise training anymore. I've gotten too into the martial arts training and the circuits to train like that anymore.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, including martial arts, what would be your favorite sport? Martial arts, weightlifting included.
Martial arts.
Fair enough.
Easily. There's nothing to compare to the feeling of, and this is to do with sparring alone. So not the other elements of martial arts, the patterns and the actual physical training. But there really is nothing to compare to putting your hands on somebody else in a quasi-violent, very controlled, and ultimately very friendly way, and testing your physical and emotional self against them. There is nothing like that. And so, yeah, martial arts by a mile.
I can understand and agree with that.
I know you would. And every martial artist watching this is nodding their head like, yep, nothing like it. But yeah, there's and that's one of the things that I missed with lockdown, man. I mean, there's only so much drilling you can do on your own. Now Zoom and these kind of platforms were a lifesaver. We did a lot of quality training, patterns wise, but there's nothing to hit. There's nobody to hold on to and flip and roll, and that was one of the things that was missing in my life for 2 years.
I hear you. So, protein supplements or diet?
Food. Eat.
Of course. And the last and most important question of them all. This is the biggest question, entire slate.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you're ready for it.
Hit me.
TV or cinema?
Well, that would entirely depend on what we're going to watch, but I like the cinematic experience. I like my popcorn. I'm a dark room. I'm a giant screen. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, Franz, thank you once again.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
There has been my longest interview so far, and I think that
do I talk too much?
No, dude, no, not at all. I think every minute was worth it. Every minute was quality. Every minute was valuable. You shared a lot of insight into your experiences, into your life, and that mental health bit towards the end there. I really wanted to touch on that, and I'm glad that you agreed to talk about your experience, because as you gave us some statistics, 86 suicides, and for every 20 attempts.
Yeah, man.
The amount of cries for help, the amount of therapy sessions booked and requested skyrocketed, and we need, because I think it's a Caribbean thing, but globally you find, thanks to false ideas of manhood, a lot of men are afraid to come forward and say, hey, I'm having a problem, which is where these murder-suicides that you had mentioned come from.
That could be part of where that comes from, but to give some good news to that, I have been following some discussions that have been talking about the fact that more West Indian men have been seeking professional help, mental health and emotionally. And so you're right, it is it's probably not uniquely West Indian, but it is definitely more of a problem, I feel like, down here, just because of our culture. That men don't reach out. Thank you, Jai. Much appreciated. As one of our black belt instructors, good guy. Hoping
Right.
he grades the second dan sooner, man. So it is because of our culture that a lot of men historically have not been reaching out, but I've been seeing that that's changing, and I'm glad for that.
Nice. We want to leave with one little image because we started going full circle. We started with Franz the trainer, and in fact, before that, we started with Franz the fitness enthusiast.
Right, yes.
All right, so we're going to take one quick look at Franz the fitness enthusiast, in COVID especially, right?
Right.
There we go, little images of you training at home, training your son. I saw a little right angle, triangle of you doing
That was me working out how far I jumped.
Yeah.
Solve for X.
So
So that was this is just a collage that I did to show people that you can figure out ways to train anyway. So like Eli and I, my son and I are all gloved up, and we're actually doing a Zoom. Well, I think it was a Facebook live training with Stefan Tapalatu. That's me doing bear push-ups on my neighbor's wall. Me and Dobok in the garage, presumably after a Zoom training, lifting weights in my porch, lifting weights in the garage, and that broad jump that I did there. I mean, you just find somewhere and jump. And that one in particular, if I don't make it, I bust my shins on my face because there's about a 2-foot drop that I'm leaping over.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of did this to show people there's no you're home, find a way to train.
So you left us with words of inspiration or motivation, I should say, you know, which is always greatly appreciated. I don't know how somehow the word thanks doesn't seem like enough, but it's all I have. So thank you once again, Franz.
You're very welcome.
For being here, for sharing yourself, for sharing your time. Yes.
And so I just wanted to big up Beast who just posted there. You said words, and you'd open when there was a quote on the opening graphic that I let me see if I can remember it off the top of my head. The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. I think it's a Samuel Johnson quote, an old English author. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I think it's Samuel Johnson who said that. Anyway, I wanted to use that quote because a big part of my I didn't actually talk about this recovery journey was a result of habits that I just kept up. I worked out of habit. I ate out of habit. I slept out of habit. And I feel like that, as well as incredibly supportive family and friends, those who knew what I was going through, as well as the meds that I was on, the therapy that I sought out, the habits that I kept up purely out of habit. I didn't want to work out, but I worked out anyway. I didn't want to eat, but I ate anyway, because some part of me knew that this will help you go forward. So once you build those good habits, they will take you through some of your dark times. So build good habits, because bad habits also can't be broken very easily either.
Yeah.
And so good habits, and they'll see you through.
All right, Franz. It's been a great show. It's been a great interview. I look forward to continuing to work with you in the future.
I look forward to what you all are going to do with the magazine.
We have some stuff in plan.
I'm sure you do. I'm excited.
We have some stuff planning. And, thanks for your guidance, of course. And don't worry, we'll continue to keep this thing going as long as we can.
Oh, I know you will. Anderson, like I say, Anderson is relentless. So as long as he can go, you all will go.
Yeah. All right, Franz, we'll chat otherwise. Great interview again. Thanks again.
Yes, my friend, we will pick up. Thank you for having me, and a very good night to everybody who joined in. Hope you all had a good time.
Definitely. All right, guys, thanks again for joining us. This was a great interview with our founder, trainer, Taekwondo instructor, adventure racer, all of that stuff, Franz Gillezeau. It's been a great podcast so far. Don't worry, we have more coming to you. Enjoy your night, enjoy your weekend. This is Chau signing out for Fitness Focus, Hybrid Magazine.